You notice it in small moments, when the room fills with noise and something in you tightens, when conversation turns rapid, overlapping, performative, when words begin to stack on top of each other and your body leans inward instead of forward. You don't feel bored. You don't feel superior. You don't even feel annoyed. You feel crowded. So you go quiet. Not dramatically, not with withdrawal that demands attention. You simply stop adding sound. And almost immediately, something settles inside you. Your shoulders drop a fraction. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts regain their shape. Silence feels like space, like oxygen. You've noticed this about yourself for a long time. You don't rush to fill pauses. You don't fear quiet rooms. You don't feel compelled to narrate your inner world out loud. In fact, too much talking often leaves you feeling strangely exposed, as if something private has been handled without permission. People sometimes misread this. They think you're distant, or guarded, or hard to read. Some assume you're shy. Others think you're loose. A few decide you're uninterested. But the truth is quieter than all of that. You don't prefer silence because you have nothing to say. You prefer silence because it feels safe. And that preference did not appear randomly. It formed. Gently, intelligently, over time. There was a period in your life when silence wasn't emptiness, it was protection. When you learned that words could escalate things, that speaking too freely could invite misunderstanding, that explaining yourself didn't always lead to being understood. So you learned to listen first, to wait, to measure. You discovered that silence gave you control. Not control over others, control over yourself. In unpredictable emotional environments, quiet becomes a shelter. When moods shift without warning, silence reduces exposure. When reactions are disproportionate, silence minimizes risk. When attention comes with scrutiny, silence keeps you intact. Somewhere inside you, a calculation was made. Not consciously, not verbally. A quieter part of you decided that stillness was safer than expression. And so your nervous system adapted. It learned how to stay alert without being loud, how to observe without interfering, how to exist without drawing fire. Silence became a kind of armor, not hard, not rigid, but precise. You learned to read what others missed, the tone beneath words, the pause before a reaction, the emotional undercurrent in a room. While others spoke, you tracked. While others expressed, you sensed. This is the paradox most people never see. Your silence is not absence, it is awareness. It is presence turned inward. It is attention without performance. And that depth did not come without cost. When you prefer silence, you often carry things alone. Thoughts that could have been shared remain folded inside. Reactions that could have been expressed dissolve quietly. Needs that might have been voiced wait patiently, sometimes too patiently. You become fluent in containment. You learn how to hold discomfort without leaking it outward, how to absorb intensity without externalizing it, how to self-regulate without assistance. From the outside, this looks like calm. Inside, it can feel like weight. There are moments when you want to speak, but something stops you. Not fear exactly, more like a reflex. A sense that breaking the quiet might disturb something delicate. So you wait, and often the moment passes. This is how silence can slowly turn from refuge into habit. What once protected you begins to shape how you move through the world. You become the one who listens, the one who doesn't interrupt, the one who notices but doesn't announce. People may confide in you without asking if you want to hold their stories. They may assume your quiet means consent. You rarely correct them. Silence taught you endurance, but endurance has a shadow. There is a grief that lives here. Not loud, not obvious, the grief of words never spoken, of truths kept folded like unopened letters, of parts of you that exist fully, but privately. You may notice that when you are finally alone, your mind becomes loud. Thoughts rush in, memories surface, conversations replay. Silence on the outside gives permission for noise on the inside. This is not contradiction, it is release. Your system learned that external quiet creates internal space, and space is where you breathe. There is a kind of emotional literacy that grows in silence. You learn nuance, you learn restraint, you learn timing. You understand that not everything needs to be said to be real. This gives you depth, but it also creates distance, because connection in most social structures is built through exchange, through mutual disclosure, through shared sound. When you prefer silence, you often connect sideways rather than directly, through presence, through consistency, through being there. But some people don't know how to read that language. They look for noise as proof of engagement, and when they don't find it, they assume absence. This can leave you feeling misunderstood, not rejected, just unseen. And still, you don't force yourself to be louder, because something in you knows that noise, when it's not authentic, feels like self-betrayal. You've always known the difference between speaking and performing. Silence allows you to stay aligned, to remain intact, to avoid the frostbite that comes from overexposure. There is a strength in this that rarely gets named. Your quiet is not emptiness, it is density. It is a well rather than a stream. You do not spill, you collect. And when you do speak, it matters. Not because it's rare, but because it's rooted. Not because it's rare, but because it's rooted. Still, the paradox remains. The same silence that kept you safe can keep others at a distance. Not because you push them away, but because you don't signal invitation. Your boundaries are implicit, not declared. Your interior world is rich, but gated, and only a few ever wander inside. This is not because you lack warmth. It's because warmth, for you, was once something that needed protecting. Somewhere along the way, you learned that silence preserved dignity, that staying quiet prevented escalation, that being the still one gave you leverage in unstable emotional terrain. So your nervous system chose efficiency, minimal output, maximum awareness, and it worked. You survived. You adapted. You became someone who can sit with stillness without panic, someone who does not need constant stimulation to feel real, someone who understands that silence is not void, but texture. This is the hidden intelligence of your preference. Silence gave you sensitivity. It gave you emotional radar. It gave you patience. It also taught you to carry things yourself. And now, as an adult, you may notice how automatic it feels. You enter a room and your volume adjusts downward. You sense tension and your voice softens. You feel emotional intensity and you retreat into observation. Not because you don't care, but because this is how you learn to stay safe while staying present. There is nothing broken about this. There is no defect here. There is a system that learned how to survive without making noise, and survival leaves signatures. Your silence is one of them. The invitation, if there is one, is not to change this, not to become louder, not to perform visibility, but to recognize what your quiet has been doing for you, to see it not as absence, but as architecture, as something carefully built. Healing, in this sense, is not about dismantling silence. It is about understanding it, knowing when it is refuge, knowing when it is habit, and allowing yourself to hold both truths without judgment. You are not quiet because you are empty. You are quiet because you learned how much could be lost by speaking too soon. And that understanding lives in your body, not your thoughts. Silence is where you learned to stay intact. And now awareness allows you to carry that silence gently, not as armor, but as choice. Stillness that belongs to you, not because you must hide, but because you know the power of what is unsaid.